Walker Buehler admits he is finally listening to his coaches. Is it possible that the Chargers' offensive line is just mid? And according to the Rams GM, Kupp did not enjoy his life last year. Somebody help the man. And good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. And so it is May 20th, 2024. Welcome to the Sanctum Sanctorum of LA Sports. By the time you see this video, I'll be on my way to Illinois for work, meetings, hooray for me. Now, if you like being in the know though about LA Sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell, hit that, it'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring, let people know we exist, and by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, look at the scoreboard. Shohei Ohtani collected his first walk-off hit as a Dodger, and he Pages homers. The Dodgers take 3 of a 4-game set with Cincinnati. They defeated the Reds yesterday in 10 innings, 3-2. Meanwhile, today, Arizona comes to town to play the Dodgers at 7. Gavin Stone is 4-1. He has a 3.27 ERA. Slade Chacon, a very singable name, I must say. He's 1-3 with a 5.27 ERA. What do you say? We get to the news. If there is one thing to take away from the Walker Buehler comeback from a second Tommy John surgery, it's that reflective Walker Buehler is a pretty funny version of Walker Buehler. Quote, I was telling my wife that I finally have to start listening to people, not just doing whatever I want all the time. So that's been an interesting transition for me, unquote. And I'm sure his wife must be very happy to hear about that piece of personal growth. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know how much I love it when my spouse, my wife, isn't listening to me. That gives me a warm fuzzy right here. But after he got rocked in his second start back, there were meetings with 3 Dodgers pitching coaches in a bullpen session. They asked Buehler to change where he stood on the pitching rubber, for instance. The difference is about 6 inches. Walker used to be standing right on the edge of the first base side of the rubber. Now before, Buehler wouldn't agree to do that. There's a benefit for him to pitching at the edge because it would allow him to torque his body back a little bit further so that when he would finally unwind, it would get an extra little bit of oomph on his pitch. He did wind up using this new spot, though, on Saturday night against the Reds. And as you know, he pitched 6 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts and no walks. Obviously, there are going to be more adjustments to make. He's got to be able to rediscover his entire repertoire as best as he can replicate it after 2 Tommy John surgeries. But needless to say, it's possible that a big piece of the comeback has been discovered. A couple of weeks ago, a confab of baseball scribes got together. They knocked down a few bags of Funyuns, drank about a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and then most of them agreed that Mookie Betts was already the best shortstop in the game. One scribe, though, at CBSSports.com said he did not choose Betts specifically because he didn't want to look as if he was in lockstep with everybody else. So the theory remains, Mookie Betts, best shortstop in the game. But for his part, Betts told the LA Daily News that he would not be that charitable. Quote, I think it has not been very good. It's a work in progress. This is really hard. It's really, really hard. Now, Dave Roberts did give Betts the night off on Saturday, which was probably needed because the player did sound mentally worn out while talking about this adjustment to the middle infield. Betts hasn't been atrocious, mind you. His offense alone is a fine reason to keep sending him out there. He's 3rd in the majors in hitting. But he's also committed 6 errors, which is tied for the 5th most among all major league shortstops. So, the worst? No. Offensively, definitely the best. Enough of a rationale to keep him at shortstop for the time being. Another day and another flurry of Dodgers roster moves involving pitching. Landon Knack was recalled from AAA, and Anthony Bonda, who was acquired from Cleveland a couple of days ago for cash, they got the nod. Now, Knack got the spot start on Sunday, by the way, and Bonda wound up getting the win Sunday in relief. JP Fireisen and Ricky Vanasco were both booked on the next flight back to Oklahoma City, and for that, I'm sorry. But on the plus side, I know for a fact there is a Del Taco in Oklahoma City. So look for the pluses, folks. Look for the pluses. And Connor Brogdon was transferred to the 60-day injured list. Now, to me, Knack is the big takeaway. We have been talking at length this year about the Dodgers trying to keep their starting pitchers somewhat healthy by having them pitch just once a week, but not at the expense of having to expand to a 6 or an even 7-man rotation. Knack made his 4th spot start of the year. He has a 2.61 ERA, but unlike virtually every other Dodger pitcher, he doesn't strike people out. His strikeout rate is just 16.9%. The chatter was consistent ever since Jim Harbaugh was named the Chargers coach. They're going to improve the offensive line. He's going to want them to be more physical, hit that offensive line. For all the attention to the offensive line, though, Pro Football Network ranks the Bolts as only having the 14th best line in the game. Mid. Now with that, I think it's only fair to ask if it's valid to give them that ranking. If you've watched this show for a while, I have been saying the Chargers line last year fell apart when center Corey Linsley had a heart issue and then had to leave the team. Because centers call the blocking assignments. If your backup center isn't good at that, the entire line will suffer in the process. So, here are some stats about the Chargers line with Corey Linsley. In the last 3 seasons, the Chargers offensive line has allowed the 7th most, the 2nd most, and then the 13th most hits to a quarterback. Now, as for sacks, they were middle of the pack. In other words, you could be knocking the hell out of Justin Herbert, you just weren't planting him in the turf. Herbert was just getting his block knocked off, and that does pile up over time. Going into last season, he had shoulder surgery in the offseason. You might remember 2 years ago, he had a broken rib. Last year, broken fingers on more than one occasion. And we haven't even mentioned yet how the Chargers haven't been able to run the football effectively since Melvin Gordon broke 1,000 yards back in 2017. So yeah, maybe the Chargers are mid, despite the work that they've done this year in the offseason. And for that matter, the prior years. They have a couple of good tackles that they're going to like, obviously. Joe Alt, the rookie, and Rashawn Slater. But if you're looking for a key to the Chargers season, if Corey Linsley could not get that entire group to function effectively, maybe then the key is free agent center Bradley Bozeman, who they brought over from Baltimore. You can block. If you can call a blocking scheme, all of a sudden you're a lot more effective. Cooper Kupp, meanwhile, did not like how last season went for him. He's dealt with injuries in each of the last 2 seasons, and it did not hurt the Rams too deeply, considering the emergence of Puka Nacua. But if the Rams can get both of them, Nacua and Kupp, functioning in tandem, that would just open up all kinds of awesome possibilities. Quote, I'm counting on myself to get out there for my teammates. They're counting on me to be there on Sundays, unquote. But general manager Les Snead went so far as to say Kupp was so driven to be healthy and to catch up with everybody else that he did not enjoy his life last season. And this affects me deeply because after all, I'm dressed like a clinical psychologist, right? Here's what Snead said, quote, he may overtrain trying to get back. I would bet on Cooper getting back and being healthy. It's those type of competitors. They almost feel guilty for not being 100%. but that's life in a tough sport, unquote. Clippers assistant coach Dan Craig has left to help Billy Donovan in his chaotic quest to make the Chicago Bulls an actual basketball team. And I thought I had a tendency towards self-destruction. Good luck, dude. Good luck. Good luck reintroducing Lonzo Ball to an actual basketball. Dude hasn't been on the court since when? Meanwhile, the Sparks are 0-2, but I don't want to sit there and tell you that hope is lost, right? There's 38 more games to go in the regular season, and the idea is to try to keep building some sort of a foundation. So rookie forward Rickea Jackson, she was the number 4 overall pick in the WNBA draft, but she hasn't been starting for the Sparks, which sounds like a bit of a letdown. But is it possible that the reason is maybe she's not ready to play power forward yet? That was the original idea. Her at power forward, Cameron Brink, who's only 2 inches taller than her, by the way, at 6'4", Cameron Brink at center. Coaches switched Jackson to small forward against Las Vegas on Saturday. She responded by shooting 5 of 6 for 13 points. So pretty effective in game number 2 of your professional career. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Are you now optimistic that Walker Buehler can rediscover what made him Walker Buehler? Where do you put the Chargers' offensive line? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is Quien Corta El Queso production. Take care.